Hello, imaginary friends, and welcome to the Imaginaries Literary Podcast.
I know that you have audiobooks because it's on Audible as well. You have a bunch of books on Audible. Did you get to work or choose your voiceover artist for the reader?
The Rats books I didn't. The publisher did, but for the other books I used ACX for them. So I don't know if you're familiar with that, but in that case, you can post your book as available to be narrated, and then people will kind of bid on it.
A buck.
I have a buck. I have $1.
Have you had good experiences with that? Like, is that a good thing? Have you ever? You don't have to name names, but have you regretted it?
Amish Vampires was the first thing I ever had narrated, and I just went the route of who wants to do this, and I got a few people.
I'll do it. My God, I'll do it.
And the voice I liked best, I picked, and his price was reasonable, but this young man was like a struggling actor out in California somewhere, and I don't think he got a lot of sleep because there were times where when I'm listening to what he did, and he's like yawning.
Oh no!
Not in the edited version, right?
Ultimately, even though I didn't pay him that much, it didn't seem like it was worth even what I paid him. And I got those re-recorded with a guy I knew really well, and
right on.
Yeah,
okay,
and he,
good.
He did a great job. Now these people you're going to run into, these people all have lives too, and there'll be things that happen.
Of course,
it will always take longer than you expected, probably.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's a good experience.
Before we continue the conversation, make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you give us a like and comment. It really helps us get out there. We're spoiled here. Timothy and I are spoiled because Daniel does 90% of our voiceover work, and it's fantastic.
I'd say I'm the spoiler.
No,
I enjoy it.
Daniel.
No, I'm serious.
So for me, it is incredible. I think that I've only had 2 stories where I was like, Daniel, I need you to re-record something, and everything else is like almost perfection throughout. And he is amazing. So if anybody wants to use Daniel, hit us up and we'll hook you up. My experience with it is I will read a book, I'll write something. I'll read it out loud. I'll read it in my head. I'll be like, I'm great with this. And they'll be like, here you go, Daniel. And then he reads it, and it elevates it so much higher that I'm like, oh, my God, I need to rewrite because it sounds so good but terrible at the same time because my writing is bad, but his voice is so good. So I have rewritten some things after he's done a voiceover. But have you ever done that? Have you ever listened to the voiceover work and been like, oh, I should rework that, or oh, I wish I had?
Yeah, there's small things like that. It's like, this would sound better this way, or I'm glad you did it that way because it sounds better than what I wrote. And I always recommend to writers, especially new writers, that they read out loud what they're writing.
Once upon a time, deep in the jungle, there was a little Injun that could. And he was chugging his way across the enemy line. Chugga, 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 toot, toot.
And because what you do find is that, it's fine on the page, but to speak it's very different.
Like I said, I feel so spoiled. Getting a voiceover, somebody else reading your stuff is almost surreal. The first time that Daniel did it, it was surreal. And then when we started to record them and release stories on the YouTube channel, it became like surreal times a million.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm actually releasing one of my stories to the world. I feel in good hands because it was the right voice.
Yeah.
It felt good.
For sure.
And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and there's the other advantage too of now you have someone else who knows your story. Best compliment ever, I think, one time that I caught a narrator laughing at a part of the book where it was a joke.
Like in a good way?
Yeah, in a good way.
Oh, in a good way. Oh, I thought they were laughing at you. Not in a derogatory way, but it was like that was a joke, and he laughed, and but didn't. Obviously, the character wouldn't have laughed or whatever, so we had to cut that, but redo it.
Yeah.
But,
it's the best when you get a note back like, oh my gosh, this is hilarious, or this is perfect, and it's like,
you got me.
So we talked about writing process.
Yeah.
We talked about audiobooks and recording processes, working with publishers and stuff. How was it working with the cover artist?
Cool.
So you've done traditional and self-publishing. So tell me, what was it like in both instances? Like, did you get to choose when you were working with a publisher?
So that's the other thing. When you're working with a publisher, you rarely get any input into what happens there, and you just kind of have to let it go.
Okay.
When you're self-publishing, you do get more input. The guy who did Amish Vampires in Space. His name's Kirk DuPont. He likes my work and he likes doing science fiction. And so I'll just send him it and let him do whatever. He always hits it out of the park, and I never feel like, yeah, that's not quite it. You know, I've been really blessed in that way. Like with the Rats books, I haven't had, like I said, I don't have as much input in that because that's up to the publisher. But I mean, you get some input, but not a lot.
So when you're saying that you use a guy when you're doing self-publishing, you're just giving him the book and letting him run wild, like he's coming up, or are you giving him any kind of like, hey, I want this scene to be the book cover?
Yeah, very little. You know, I tell him very little.
That's wild. That's awesome.
Yeah, like with Lost Bits, that book starts out this robot kind of waking up in a garbage dump, and I was like, you know, I kind of have an image of him sort of on a heap of garbage staring off into the distance, and that's basically where he ended up going. But, you know, in his own style. It was very different than I would have done it, but it's very cool.
Is it like a Christmas gift when you get the book cover?
It definitely is a cool thing.
Are you like a visual person? Do you like movies and things?
Oh, definitely. I don't know if you see that. That's actually a Godzilla poster there.
Oh, no.
Oh,
that's
fantastic.
Awesome.
Signed,
I love it.
Signed by the guy in the suit.
Oh, no way. Oh.
Yeah, one of my best friends
awesome.
gave it to me for a birthday present. So. And that there, I don't know if you recognize. Do you recognize that? What that is?
Is that Halo?
Yeah, that's the Needler. I 3D printed it and put it together and painted it.
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah. It
Dude,
lights
that's
up.
awesome.
There's lights in it. It lights up the whole thing. It doesn't actually shoot spikes, but you know, otherwise it works.
Oh, that's a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah, I know. I actually have a full Master Chief outfit as well. Yeah, that Realmakers conference that I go to every year, I wore it. Yeah. They have cosplay one night for dinner, and I wore it. It was a pretty epic experience, actually. That year it was held in Atlantic City at one of the hotels there, and of course I had to wear it from my hotel room to the banquet hall or whatever. And little did I know there was a dance competition going on right underneath where we were. Kids, right? So it was just like these mobs of kids. My mom loves you. And I'm like, I don't know your mom, you know, whatever. But it was pretty cool.
So the whole reason I asked is because the three of us are extremely visual, and I don't know if the guys feel this way. Correct me if I'm wrong, but every single story that I've written, I have a clear image of what I want the cover to be. Yeah. I'm like, this scene has to be the cover because of X, Y, Z, like because of points in the story, because of characters, and you name it. Like I have that visual in my brain. Now I can't draw worth crap. I draw stick figures wrong,
right.
So I can't draw them. But I can imagine working with an illustrator to make something amazing would be like, it could be really, really fun. But if you're not getting even that opportunity with a traditional publisher, that I could see how that could be really frustrating. Where it's like, no,
and there are definitely stories out there of writers who got their cover and they're like, this is not. What is this? You know, this is not my book.
I don't know what this is.
No.
What even is this?
What the hell is even that?
That and editing are probably the two scariest things in traditional publishing for me. That the edit of where somebody is coming in and telling me to change a bunch of stuff.
Look how they mess with my boy.
And then also to, you know, what the cover looks like. Those are two very frightening things for me. Not frightening.
Editing,
those are two scary things.
Editing can be tough because it is like someone criticizing your kid. You know, it can feel that way. Yeah. You really have to disassociate for that part of the process a little bit, you know, and realize that they're just trying to help you improve it. And, you know, I usually have to take a couple breaths, you know, and think about it. It's like, yeah, they're probably right. You know, and this is a reader who is seeing things that I wouldn't otherwise see.
You can't handle the truth.
Has there ever been an instance where you felt, okay, so I realize I need to step back and be objective, but at the same time, I feel like this editor doesn't actually understand like what the book is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I don't think.
Can you not talk about it?
I don't think I really have. Thankfully, I know people in the business, especially in traditional publishing, who have had that experience where it's like, man, this editor is not. And what you get to more recently is there pushes that are kind of political in nature or content in nature, and they want them to be a little more of this, a little more of that, and the writer's like, that's not the book I wrote, you know, and so. Thankfully, I have not had that experience, but it definitely happens.
very cool to know that you've published a number of books
yeah.
with a publisher and never had that experience.
That's awesome.
So I think
That
we
is
have
great.
to
Yeah.
we have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, like I said, it's a blessing for sure. But I'm sure it happened. I know it happens to other people, but thankfully not to me.
So we talked a little bit about you plotting or non-plotting. You're a pantser. What's your process like? So tell me, you get an idea out of the ether.
Yeah.
You get something. Gerbils who fight zombies.
Right.
Boom. You get that. What is your process now? What do you do? How do you write?
That's going to happen now.
Just a little bit every day. I usually write in the afternoon. I have a specific time that I write during, and I think that's important to kind of train your brain to, this is the time that I write. And I just sit there and I have a word count. I'm usually looking for 600 to 1,000 words a day. It's not, which is not a ton,
that's good.
but
That's a great word.
But I don't quit until I'm there, and
Yeah. That's
and
fantastic.
sometimes it's hard. Some days it's harder than others. Some days it's like, wow, this is a really fun action scene, and I'm done in no time. And sometimes it's a grudge match until the end. That's how I do it, and it usually takes me maybe 9 months to get a first draft.
Cool.
And then
Fantastic.
I
That's
will
great.
let it sit for at least a couple weeks, and go back through it more as a reader.
Nice.
Then
Yeah.
And I always print it out. I don't know. That's just my thing.
That's cool.
I'll put it on paper. For some reason, I just like editing that way. It would speed the process a lot if I could figure out how not to do that, but I do.
I have that same problem.
And then I make corrections, and then I'll add those back into my draft, and then and at that point I'm usually ready to send it to an editor. And
Cool.
and then they'll have it, and then I'll address whatever concerns they have, and then I usually will send it to more of a critical reader, like beta readers maybe that I know like my stuff, and then and also the cover artist at about that same time, and then from there it's a kind of a march toward having it in the cover, having it published.
Fantastic. That's great. That's a really great process.
Thanks.
Timothy, you got me on the printing on my the first book, The Roth Legend that I wrote.
Yeah.
I printed it out and did notes on it
Yeah.
at one point, and it felt real. There was something real about it, that it's not so like swipe and type, and so it's gone. It's just completely gone.
Yeah.
But like taking something and crossing it out and writing something, but still having it there, and you have all your notes and stuff. It just feels there's something real about that.
Yeah,
and
you can take it.
I
You can
really
take it
enjoyed
outside with you too. You can sit.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Just like you would the book. So
That's definitely my preferred method of editing as well.
It's different. It's different than what I'm used to. But when I did it, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was really, really fun. There was one time when I literally took it out to the woods, and I was reading it. I was like, this is where you need to read my book. It needs to be read in the woods. It is a prerequisite to buying it. You need to read it in the woods. So
If you live in the desert, you're out of luck.
you don't buy my book. Hi. If you liked that, here's another video to watch. Or maybe it's on this side. Or maybe, I don't know.